Hey, how are you doing today? Hope you are doing well. Let's put the cat in the frame. Today is finally the weekend. It's Friday. This weekend will be Halloween. It will be pretty cool. Doing some party, eating candies. Dressing up like whatever. Nice. Let's finish that very specific week. This week we talked a lot about different fear, uncertainty, doubt that you can have as artist. Let's address the biggest elephant in the room, I guess, which is the impostor syndrome. I'm pretty sure that everyone watching that stream and pretty much everyone doing art experiencing impostor syndrome at some point. I think that artists not experiencing that, at least when they are young, like students and stuff like that, it's maybe below 10% of art students that are not susceptible to that. I think impostor syndrome is the most common thing that artists have in terms of problems. I think it's very important to address that properly because it can cripple some people, can cripple some careers, can lead to some people not asking for the money they deserved, not asking for the career they deserved, maybe not allowing themselves to succeed as they would like to. And this is, in my opinion, the biggest self-sabotage thing that you can have in your art career or art growth when you are on the learning stage. Bear with me, it's going to be exhaustive. There's going to be a lot of definitions because I need to frame that properly, I think. So let's get started. There's only one person watching, but I think there will be a bit more people. So let's start by a lot of definition. I've been doing some research. I think the Wikipedia definition is very good, so we're gonna discuss about that. We're gonna plant the seed, paint the whole picture, and then explain how to address that. A quick disclaimer, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a personal coach like with certified stuff. I'm not anything of that. I'm just a kid who went through that and kind of managed to handle that properly, and now I'm not really susceptible to that anymore. But on a personal note, it's been only a bit more than 1 year that I fixed that. Full disclosure, I fixed that thanks to hypnosis. I'm not advocating for hypnosis for everyone. It's just that it worked for me. But I'm aware that it might not work for anyone. So I'm not telling you go to see a hypnosis, go to do sophrology or whatever. I'm just giving you a framework and then you apply what works for you in terms of tools and maybe persons to see if you need someone, if you need to seek for someone to help you with that. So I'm technique agnostic. I'm just pro fixing stuff. That's it. But yeah, on a personal note, I'm almost 27, but until my mid 25, I've been crippled by imposter syndrome for basically my entire life. It was kind of horrible because I was kind of trapped into thinking I was not worthy of anything. But at the same time, I was this kind of very smart and effortless kid at school. So it was very infuriating for people. And I was like, it's easy for me. It's kind of boring. I hate school. At the same time, I'm not feeling I'm worthy because I'm not working as hard as other people who barely scraped the average grade. It's kind of unfair. I was kind of feeling bad for those people working very hard and I was not working. And it was kind of strange. And then in art school, I had to cheat for an entire year. Not steal anything, but just do the work in 3D. Then trace it on my monitor. I was putting flat. I burnt my monitor. I stabbed my monitor with a mechanical pencil one day. Just to trace over everything, then add some mistakes because it was doing 3D, so the perspective was perfect. So I had to add some mistakes to not get caught. And you can already figure out that cheating for an entire year was increasing that imposter syndrome a lot. So I think I come from something very deep in the imposter syndrome world. It's not to flex, just I think that I know that subject kind of well, at least on a personal level. Anyways, let's start with some definitions if you want. Imposter syndrome, it has several names. Another name that might be kind of uncommon but that exists is a self-doubt syndrome. When you're self-doubt, it can happen to you way more than if you're at school. Even though it happens quite a lot at school. But if you're a self-taught artist, you might be susceptible to that. Like, hey, I've not done Art Center, New Age, Scene Studio, FZD. There's no way I can compete with those kids. Yeah, imposter syndrome. Let's start with a definition. Basically, it's a psychological pattern in which an individual doubts their skills, talents, or accomplishments, achievements. And basically, these persons, they have persistent internalized fear. And this is on the internalized part. It's really part of them. A fear of being exposed as a fraud. As a fake. As a con artist. As a scammer. Not being legit. And this is despite a lot of evidence in general of their competence. And people experiencing this phenomenon remain convinced, despite of this evidence, that they are frauds and that they do not deserve what they have achieved, what they have, what they own, people they are hanging out with, everything they have, basically. Individuals with imposter syndrome incorrectly attribute their success to luck or external factors that has nothing to do with them. Or else they interpret it as a result of deceiving others into thinking they are more intelligent and better than they perceive themselves to be. And it's kind of tricky already because you think that you're fooling people, so you kind of think that people are a bit more stupid than you in some way. Even though you don't want to fool them, but they are credible enough to, and naive enough to believe what you're thinking you're pretending to be. It's kind of hard to have relationship with people also. Because it's kind of hard to have respect for people that you might think or perceive as a bit dumber than you. And by thinking that you're able to trick them even though you don't want that, you might think that they are a bit not worthy of being intelligent being compared to you. So it's very hard to handle that too. Imposter syndrome also occurs in normal human-to-human relationships. So it can be friends, family, loved ones. In our case, it's going to be your boss, your client, your teacher, your school director, and your other buddies at school or at work. I'm not going to talk about relationship with family, friends, loved one. This is not the subject of the stream. Just going to keep that hard focused. Based on this syndrome, continuing doubt about people and individual defenses mechanism are considered difficult to achieve healthy relationships. So let me rephrase that. Based on this syndrome plus continuing doubt about people and the fact that you are defending yourself all the time with defense mechanism, it's difficult to achieve healthy relationships. Sorry, it was a bit hard for me to read my notes. Apparently, this is Wikipedia stuff. While earlier research focused on the prevalence amongst high-achieving women, imposter syndrome has been recognized to affect both men and women equally. So, imposter syndrome can occur in various settings. For our presentation, we're going to talk about new environment. Reminds me of stress presentations. Academic settings. In the workplace. Social interaction. We're going to keep that on interacting with other artists and with your boss. And relationship, we're going to keep that with your boss, your client, and other artists again. In relationships, people with imposter syndrome, they often feel that they do not live up to the expectation of the other side. So it's common for people with that syndrome to think that they must have somehow tricked others into liking them or wanting to spend time with them or to work with them. And they experience feelings of being unworthy or not deserving the beneficial relationship they possess. For students, the worry and emotion that students held, apparently they have this has a direct impact on their performance in the program. This is a given. This is stress, basically. Common facets of imposter phenomenon experienced by students include not feeling prepared academically, especially when comparing themselves to other classmates. This reminds me of competition with your other buddies. Questioning the grounds on which they were accepted into the program, like, hey, I need to specialize into, let's say, environment design or VFX or character art. Am I really worthy of that compared to that kid that is so good compared to me? Maybe the teacher was not really aware I was a fraud. Maybe I tricked them. Maybe they were feeling pity. They didn't want me to feel bad, so they accepted me despite not being good enough for that. Stuff like that. Also, for students, even pros, they are perceiving that basically positive recognition, rewards, good grades are stemmed from external factor rather than personal ability or intelligence. So basically, you don't deserve anything. It's always luck. You tricked someone. It's never thanks to you. It's like basically you have no responsibility in that. For people that are always putting the blame on others, it's never their fault. And for you with imposter syndrome, it's the opposite of that. It's never thanks to you that something good happened. It's a psychological distress in some form. It's a psychological distress and cause a lot of stress and stuff like that. The causes of that are a lot. There's a lot of them. It might be family expectations or protective family. The graduate level coursework, basically your school environment that was maybe stressful, competitive, stuff like that. There are some racial and ethnic identities for minorities and stuff like that that might not feel that they are well integrated in society and might be discriminated against, stuff like that. Maybe caused by anxiety, which is basically you're imagining stuff that are potential failure in certain conditions and stuff like that, and your brain is tricking you into playing devil's advocate. And for your brain, potential failure is already experiencing failure just to protect you. It might be caused to depression. And it often results in perfectionism, which is a freaking trap. We talked about that yesterday with the sunk cost fallacy a bit. See how the different presentations are following each other? But perfectionism is basically you setting up crazy high expectation that you know that you won't be able to achieve. So you are setting yourself up for 1, failure, and 2, disappointment. And that's a problem because it's feeding that sense of not being worthy, not being good enough. And you're always in the despair phase when we are checking the intellectual skill versus the hand skill. So perfectionism due to high expectations again. It also shows a trait of low self-esteem. Again, either due to high expectation, both from you or from external sources. And also maybe it might be stemmed from situation that induce that belief of not being worthy. Maybe an abusive relationship with someone, with parents, stepdad, stepmom, big brother, big bullies at school, whatever. The problem is that this entire imposter syndrome, it leads in every case to severe feelings of guilt and shame. It's like, I'm afraid of being a fraud. I think that I have scammed people. Afraid of being a fraud is fear and shame. And guilt is like, maybe I've scammed people, I've robbed people from their job or whatever. And because of that, that's something you will not hear in a lot of different podcasts about that. It very often results to both fear of failure and fear of success. So whatever you are doing, if you're feeling that, you will either feel guilt for having failed and shame for having failed, or guilt if you success, because you might think that you have tricked someone into thinking you are successful. Again, guilt and shame. This is very, very toxic. Those are very toxic feelings. Again, it's a vicious circle, because whether you are trying or not, you are feeling guilt and shame. If you fear failure, it's not worth trying. If you fear success, it's not worth trying either. But if you are not doing anything, it might also be putting some guilt and some shame, basically because you are doing nothing. In every case, you are losing. It's not to be dark, it's to try to address that shit. So, the only solution you have is to address that. It seems to be an empty word, and for now it's empty. Okay. But you might be susceptible to that, and you need to first identify when you are feeling that, if and when you are feeling that. For example, when people are saying that you received good education, when people are talking about how successful you are, when you might think that it's not right or fair to be in a better situation than a friend or a loved one. For example, my example when I was in high school was like, hey, I'm not working at all, I have awesome grades. I feel kind of bad for this guy struggling so much, or this girl struggling so much, working 6 hours every evening and barely scrapping the average grade. Kind of bad for that person. I'm kind of hiding my notes. I don't want him or her to see my grades and to not feel bad. You might also feel that guilt or shame by being referred as the smart one, the talented one, the gifted one, the responsible one, the sensitive one, the good one, the favorite of teachers, parents, stuff like that. If you are feeling guilt or shame with those examples, you might be experiencing imposter syndrome, basically. Basically, you are not allowing yourself to acknowledge your success and self-worth, to internalize that. So, how to address that? Again, some website might be telling you, hey, just be yourself, bro. Stick to it. Just try to be positive and stuff like that. And in my opinion, this is shit advice as usual. So let's cut the nonsense. Let's do our best to have actionable plan and course of action. Let's start with how to handle that on a daily basis. It will not fix the problem on a deep level, but it might help you to handle that while you are fixing the problem more deeply. It's basically making sure that it's bearable on a daily basis. If you are at school experiencing that, first of all, in any case, you must remember yourself that pretty much everyone around you, including the teacher, is probably feeling exactly the same. This is something that is so common for artists that I'm pretty sure that 99.9% of artists experience that. I was working on a thesis, when I was about to start my training to get certified as a hypnotherapist. Unfortunately, it got cancelled because of the lockdowns and stuff like that. But I had to start working on thesis, and mine was the relationship between psychological issues and becoming an artist, basically. And I basically did some surveys amongst artists, both students and professionals. And I'm pretty sure that at least 90% of them were mentioning they had problems right now. So I really think that Impostor Syndrome was the first one to get. The second one was depression, anxiety. No surprise at all. But yeah, a lot of them were linked to Impostor Syndrome. How are you doing, Kitty? In your box? Okay. So, when you are at school, first of all, everyone is experiencing the same. Second of all, something that you need to do is to trust the grades. It sounds simple. The teachers, at least if you are in a good school, if you are in a shitty school where everyone has good grades right from the start, this is a problem. A good school, almost nobody should have the average grade at the beginning. And it's not to get you stressed. It's not to bash you. It's not to trick you down. It's not to punch you while you are on the ground. It's to give you the opportunity to evolve and to climb the ladder, basically, across the year. If at the beginning it's bad, should again acknowledge that everyone is in the same boat. There might be one or two gifted kids that can already scrap the average at the beginning of the year. But again, decrease the judgment of others, increase the judgment of yourself. So basically, those gifted kids, again, we are back on the stress stuff, ask them for advice. But also, you need to trust the teachers. They know what they are doing if you are in a good school. If you're in a shitty school, rest in peace. If you're in a good school, you need to trust the teachers. They are here to lead you towards good results. And those grades are here to make you improve, to make you realize that there are things you need to learn. And they are there to teach you that. So if you follow the process, if you trust the process, it's like trusting your mentor, as we were mentioning yesterday. If you are trusting the process, sticking to it and doing the work for at least 3 months, if there are no results, of course, it's probably a problem. If there are results though, in that case, you need to keep trusting the process because you're on the good path. Also, if you are still stressed about that, again, think that your notes are here to situate you compared to the professional level in general. So if you're in first year, those are bad. You have 3 years to improve, maybe 5 years to get to 16 out of 20. Also, hey, Foskog, nice to see you. Doing great, and no worries about being late. I know it's Friday, so everyone is hanging out at a bar or stuff like that. Plus, it's soon to be Halloween, so it might be some special events. So it's just a stream, just to stick to that out of discipline. But I'm not expecting a lot of people. But yeah, doing great, thanks. Today we are talking about Impostor Syndrome. First of all, I was making a big definition of that. And now it's just about how to address that. It's going to be a short stream, maybe 50 minutes. Maybe still 20 minutes left. And if you have some questions, feel free to ask too. Hope you are doing well too. But yeah, again, if the school is caring and good, there should be someone that is like an advisor or school counsel that you should be able to get some appointment with, share your feelings, and this person will be able to help you, either to reassure you or to tell you what to do in order to become worthy. It's kind of hard for a school. You need to realize also that it's kind of hard for a school to tell you, yeah, no worry, you're fine. Because the risk with that is that you become complacent. Like, okay, I'm fine, I can rest, I'm not doing the work and stuff like that. And you might be tricked and fall. That's something that happened a lot, especially with very good students that are kind of gifted at the beginning. They know that they are good, they're not working hard, and they get burned. And some people were not as good, but were working very hard are becoming better than them. It's compounding over time, over 3 to 5 years. A lot of time, those very gifted students at the beginning, they are not taking care of their gifts and not working hard. They tend to not be the best ones once they graduate, basically. I've seen that in my promotions. I've seen that with every year I was teaching. The best one at the beginning of the year might not be the best one at the end of the year if they are not working. And if you tell them that, yeah, this is fine, you are the best in the class, this is the worst thing you can tell as a teacher. You can say as a teacher. Something that I do a lot with those kind of gifted students, not gifted, or maybe they worked hard already before, is either to challenge them, or also if they are very good, I'm just sitting in front of them, there's their work, I'm looking at that, they're waiting for review, I'm not saying anything for like 30 seconds. And they are freaking out in general. Like in straight, it's kind of... it's very harsh to not say anything, to remain in that silent state while watching at their work. It might be perceived as something humiliating, it's not. But this stress that you instill in those students, this is some kind of doubt. And generally they are able to figure out by themselves at the end of those 30 seconds of silence what they need to improve. So if a teacher is doing that to you, don't be mean at them. Don't be mad at them. This might be also a way to change you, to get you off your comfort zone. Because sometimes we have some students that are so good that we have nothing to say. Negligible things. Sometimes this silence is just a way to get them aware of they are more objective on their work than we are sometimes. Because they worked so hard on it and they might see some mistake that we are not seeing because it's hidden in the details. And this is a way to teach them what to do next without saying anything. Just by cornering them, they are freaking out. They need to find a solution. It's like, oh my God, I think it's not good enough. What do I need to improve? I need to improve this. They tell that to you and you are like, exactly. So for this, now you do that. For this, you do that. For this, you do that. This is a way to get them self-aware of the problems. So don't be mad at teacher doing that to you. This is part of the process. As a teacher, I think you are a very bad teacher if you are telling your students, yeah, you are the best, you can rest. So schools are there to challenge you, to make you always a bit uncertain about your skills. Because it's a way for you to get aware of that risk that you might not be good enough in order for you to train harder. The downside of that is that if it's too stressful for you, if you're freaking out with that, if you're more sensitive to that, you might develop that constant habit of, I'm never worthy, I'm never good enough, and you might stick to that later. Schools are expecting you to get rid of that belief once you graduate and get your degree. Apparently, once you get your paper, apparently it's gone. The problem with some schools, especially the best ones, this is not to bash on them, but this is something that they should account for, and at the end of the year, once you graduate, they should give you tools to deal with that. This is my suggestion to some of the best schools in the world. It's basically as they make you doubt for 3 to 5 years, you start to internalize, and sometimes it's so stressful that your brain freaks out. It's like tightening a screw to fix a problem to get you to survive. Like, oh my God, I might not stay at school if I'm not working hard. I need to work harder because I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. And after you stick with that belief of I'm not good enough, it's a belief system. You freak out, it's a kind of trauma. Your brain needs to keep you alive, to keep you safe. So it's finding a solution to fix that problem, which is the problem is I'm not good enough. I might get ejected from the school. Belief, I'm not good enough. Solution, I need to work harder because I'm never good enough. This is a vicious circle. They should be aware towards the end of the year to prepare you to accept the fact that you are good enough, that you're worthy of working in the industry. This is my tips to very good art school. So, If you get your degree, you need to acknowledge that apparently you're good enough. Plus, if you get a job, generally at the end of the year, once you graduate, there's a jury made of professionals already in the industry. So they would not fool you. They don't know you personally. They have not spent 3 to 5 years with you. They don't care about you. They only care about if you are good enough or not. And if they let you pass, it means that they think that you're good enough for the industry. And this is something you need to prepare yourself for. If you are working in school, don't work for the degree, because the degree won't get you a job. Work for the fact of learning, of course, as I said. But keep in mind that once you're in your jury, at the beginning, just before you get your degree or not, if they let you pass, it means that you are good enough for the industry. And you need to acknowledge that, set that as a goal. Like, I need to pass my jury. You don't care about the degree. You're like, I need to pass my jury. I need to get the congratulations from them because it means I'm eligible for the industry. And you need to condition yourself right from the beginning, thinking about that and setting that as a goal. This is a healthy goal. Not the degree. Because some schools, they give you the degree even if the jury is trashing you. Sometimes they give you the degree before the jury. Sometimes there's not even a jury. But if there is a jury made of real professionals, not other teachers, real professionals in the industry, coming, doing the job to come from across the world to see you and to maybe hire you to do some job hunting, basically. You need to set that as a goal right from the start. This is my ultimate checkpoint, and if I pass, it means that I'm good enough, that I'm worthy of working. This is a goal. This is like what you see. It's going to be a cheesy comparison, but you see, like Naruto, his dream is to become Hokage. Why? It's not because he wants to be the best, but he wants to get recognized and loved and trusted by this entire village. And becoming a Hokage is like the biggest confirmation of the fact that you are trusted and loved and respected and accepted by the entire village. He doesn't care about the title and the responsibilities, and when you watch Boruto, he's like, fuck, I hate paperwork. But this is the symbol of I want to get accepted, I want to get worthy, and Naruto is the first one to be in the Impostor Syndrome. It's like, I'm a monster, I'm not worthy, everyone hates me. And he's fighting all along till he becomes Hokage, you know, to prove that he's worthy to himself. Passing the jury and succeeding, getting the congratulations is like your version of becoming a Hokage, basically. This was a cheesy comparison, but I still love Naruto. I'm not sorry. So work for that congratulations. If you're just looking at the grade, it's not enough, basically. If you're just looking at the degree, it's not enough. It's the jury, and then the fact of finding a job. But school should prepare yourself for that and tell you that. Second of all, to handle that on the surface level. If you're already working in a company and you are, or in freelance and you are still susceptible to that, I was in that case for the first 5 years of me being in the industry, and it was horrible. Again, you're not fooling anyone. You need to trust the hiring process in a company, and you need to absolutely realize that a company has to be absolutely a maniac, absolutely paranoid on every level of paranoia before hiring you. Because the biggest fear, a company is always working out of fear. Every decision in a company is based out of fear first. Let me explain that. When they are working on a new project for a game, their first fear is, what if we lose money? So, figuring out a goal and a solution, we need to make sure that this game is making money and has the right formula to make money. It's exactly what we said in the presentation about goal. You should identify your fears, define your goals out of that. Because wanting to make $1 billion worth of sale, you don't know how to do that. It might change. But if you are fire up your ass, like, we must not lose $200 million on that project, this is a much more relatable fear and danger and immediate danger than, what if I don't make $1 billion? What if I only make 800 millions? Oh, boo, poor me. This is much more real already. This is why a company is working out of fear, and this is why they are really risk averse. And you see in AAA games that every game is so bland and flat and without any innovation, just because they are terrified of taking risks, because it involves uncertainty and potential fear of failure, and they don't want that, because the investors, they want to be reassured that they place their money well. This is why every game from every AAA company, I won't call any name, but you know, the game that you get yearly before Christmas to get under the Christmas tree, like the shooting games, the you know those games. I need to name them. It's always the same, but now it's with Vikings. Now it's with dogs. Now we have paraglides. Woohoo! Now we have a machete instead of a knife. This is innovation. This is a revolution. But they're not taking risk and everything looks the same. It's formulaic because they know that this formula, despite not really working as good as they want, at least it's not making them lose money. This is what they are sticking to, the formula, and they are so averse at the idea of trying something new. This is why when you want something new, you go to indie developers that manage to get it. But same with the hiring process. They are like, what if that kid that we don't know, that has no experience, that nobody knows, that never worked before, what if that kid, we spend time to train that person? What if that kid doesn't give us the result we want? We need to find at every stage of the hiring process that this kid is ready and exceeding our expectations. Not just scratching the average level that we want, exceeding that, just to be sure. Because if it's barely scraping the surface, barely up to the level that we want, there's still risk for failure if this person is tired, sick, sad, depressed, or whatever. So this is why the hiring process is so harsh and so exhaustive. First, there is an interview generally on the phone or on Skype to know who you are in terms of personality, if you are sticking and you are congruent with your cover letter and what you display to them when you are applying. Before, there was a portfolio review to check if your work was already fitting the style and the expectations of the company. Then this first interview is to see if you are legit and congruent with that. Then there's generally an art test to see if you can indeed still be legit and deliver good enough work and in time and stick to the brief. This is another filtering process, another gatekeeping part of the hiring process. Then there is another interview to negotiate the salary, to make sure that you are not greedy, that you make sure you are a team player, that you are sure that you are definitely a personality and you want to be there. This is another gatekeeping stage. And maybe there's again another interview, something like that. Maybe you are in concurrence with other people. And if they hire you, it means that at every level, at every stage of the hiring process, they were 100% sure that you are above their expectations. So this is something that if you are feeling imposter syndrome, you need to acknowledge. The hiring process is harsh, it's cruel, it's reckless. It's not to tell that it's impossible to get a job. It's just that if they hire you, it means that they truly 100% believe, or almost like 99.9% believe, that you are doing the job above their expectations. So that you are already becoming an asset, or on the verge of becoming an asset to them, provided they train you a bit. Same, if you are at work, if you are in your trying period, like your trial month or something like that, again, you need to trust everything I just said, because you are already in the company and they wouldn't bet money on you and ask a senior to train you if they didn't believe in you in the first place. Same if you are an intern. It's that you're not ready yet, but they see the potential and they want to bet on that, and they're willing to spend 3 to 6 months training you for you to realize that potential. But if you're in trial period, of course you need to prove yourself, so it's very stressful. But again, you need to trust your lead or your mentor. Basically the person that will be in charge of training you and getting you integrated in the company. This is so important because they are here to train you. They have been trained to train you. They are not here to trick you into failing, because generally they have some kind of prime or extra money for having trained you properly. And when you basically get to sign again for you to stick in the company, so they gain money. So they have all the incentive in the world to be efficient with you and to make you succeed. So you need to trust them. Plus, they probably trained other people before you who are already in the company. So you can also talk to them about how was the experience, what are the potential pitfalls that you might experience, how to fix that. And this way you get even more chances of making it. Again, it's about trust. If you don't trust yourself, you need to trust others. You need to trust the company. They are here to gatekeep not good enough people from being in the company. That's the job of HRs. They are gatekeepers, and you need to bypass that. Not by fooling them or cheating, but by being legit and proving that being worthy. So if you don't trust yourself yet, you need to trust the school, the teachers, the company, the HRs, your lead or trainer in the company. And every time you are signing a contract, it's a proof that they want you, that they think you are worthy. So it's only in your head. And by the way, never say to a company that you feel you are not worthy. It's an interview killer. You are killing the interview if you are saying that. That's the best case scenario. You are killing the interview. Worst case scenario, they realize that you are not thinking you are worthy. So they might, if they are a bit on the predatory side, they might be exploiting that against you to leverage like a very, very low salary, while you could have deserved way, way, way more if you had just shut up about that. I'm not joking, can be up to maybe 40, 60%, something like that of your salary. It's like, oh, you're not worthy. Yeah, indeed. We think that you might get it. We want to give you a try, you know, but it would be minimal wage because we're still unsure. Because you said you were unsure. So yeah, indeed, we have some concerns, but we believe in you. We think you could make it with time, with a lot of effort. Oh, by the way, do you want to do 15 hours of overtime per week? No? Oh, it might be necessary for you in the beginning, just to be sure. I'm playing devil's advocate right now, but you get my point. It's a death case. If you say that you are not trusting in yourself during an interview, it's a death case. And it can kill the interview, or worst case scenario, they might exploit that against you, and it might be very, very, very bad for you. Also about the trial period. It's for you to finish to learn and be fully competent at the end. They make you sign to stay with the industry at the end of your trial month. It means that indeed you are way better than what they were expecting at the beginning. So this is for the surface level, how to handle that on a daily basis. The last part of the presentation is going to be very short because I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a certified coach or hypnotist. I'm just a kid who made it. Again, as I said, I made it through hypnosis. I'm not sponsored by hypnosis in any case, and I know that it works for me extremely well because I'm very sensitive to that. But this is my personality, and there's a lot of personality that are freaking out because of that. Not receptible, not even able to fall into the hypnosis state. So maybe seeing a regular psychologist or a psychiatrist might be better. Please don't take drugs. Don't take Xanax and shit like that. I won't develop why, but don't. Fucking don't. It's just a band-aid on your problem. Plus it's shutting your brain off. You're not thinking anything anymore. This is not a way to address a problem. It's just a way to cope with that. But yeah, regular psychologist, sophrology, meditation, guided meditation is very good. Hypnosis, coaching, personal development. I'm not gonna give you any technique because that's not my job, but I'm giving you the framework. In any case, whatever your tool is, you need to realize that guilt, shame, self-worth, low self-worth, it's a belief system. It's like I'm guilty of fooling people. I'm ashamed of having to fool people or having more success than others. I'm not worthy enough. I don't deserve that job. I don't deserve that relationship. If people saw my real face, they would not like me. If they knew who I was really, I was struggling at work, they would not hire me. I'm not worthy of that. Those are belief system. Belief system always is when your brain and yourself are facing a problem that might be more or less life-threatening. Might be something like, I'm crossing the road, there is a car almost running over me. Fuck. I need to pay attention when I'm crossing the road because we never know, there might be danger. This is a belief system. About art, it might be, I'm at school, I have 8 out of 20 in grades, I'm not worthy of being there, I might get ejected from the school. I'm not good enough. This is a belief system. You get an abusive parent or stepdad or stepmom that is making you feel like shit, or you are having a toxic relationship with someone that makes you feel like shit, or arguing with someone that you like that tells you something very mean, like I don't like you, I don't love you. You might be, oh, I'm a monster, I don't deserve to be loved, I don't deserve to be liked, I'm not a good person. If you are still feeling about that moment, and you are still feeling something like your heart is racing, you are feeling a tightness somewhere, you're feeling bad just by thinking about some memory, this is called a trauma. And this is called a trigger. Just thinking about that, it triggers that strong emotion as if it was... You are basically able to feel a past emotion now as if it was real, as if it was still there. So it shows that there is something, some screw that has been tightened so hard by your brain, probably to protect you at that moment. And now it's causing problem. Yesterday's solution has become today's problem. I'm gonna give you example that can spark the imposter syndrome. Maybe at some point you have been cheating at something. Maybe cheating at school, cheating at sport, cheating in a game, cheating with someone, betraying someone's trust. I'm gonna give you an example. My imposter syndrome was due to 3 things. One day, when I was 8 years old, I was doing some archery. I've been doing archery for 19 years now. And I was 7 or 8 years old. I don't remember it's kind of blurry in terms of date, but whatever. Between 7 and 8 years old. I was shooting at 15 meters, which is already a lot for 7 to 8 years old. I had a 16-pound bow, which was pretty much the most I could handle. And for 1 year, I was unable to basically get that new small medal by being able to shoot at 15 meters and to score 440 points and 20 points. Sorry, it was the black arrow. That's how it's called in France. It's a black arrow. There's the white arrow at 10 meters, black arrow at 15, blue arrow at 20, red at 25, yellow at 30, and then bronze, silver, and gold. But yeah, 15 meters, it was very hard. And my parents were paying me stages and workshops at every vacation to attempt to do that again. It was costing them money. I was starting to feel guilty, like, oh my god, I'm never succeeding. I'm never getting back home with that small pin on my chest. I feel like shit. And I'm stuck because it's been years and I'm still unable to do that. And one day, I don't know why, but the teacher was kind of busy. It was like, hey, instead of your buddy counting the score for you, just counting for yourself. I was missing 2 points. I added the 2 points and I got it. At that moment, I was like, I got it. I'm not worthy. I never got interested in getting the grades again in archery. And I got completely disgusted of Olympic archery at all because of that. It was when I was 7 years old. Just cheating. The second experience in cheating was one day I was in middle school. I was probably 10 or 11. There's some kind of exams. And there was a girl behind me struggling. And at the moment she was asking for an answer. So I write it on my hand. I was pretending to scratch my hand. And the teacher was spotting that. Like, Tim, what the fuck are you doing? Plus, I was the best kid in the class. So she was so surprised to say that. She didn't even punish me. I was like, shit. I was trying to help someone to cheat at school. Not bad. Not good. And everyone caught me on that. And the teacher, I said goodbye to her, like any polite kid. She was like, yeah, I hope you will have a better comportment next time. It was still sticking to me. And the third one was basically the entire year of my first grade in concept art, where I had to do 3D and photo bashing and Photoshop and trace everything for an entire year. I never got caught. Never. Because I was adding mistakes deliberately, but I was like, it's so hard. It was so stressful every time there was a correction or the teacher giving us back our sheets or drawings, because I was like, will I get caught this day? And it was like that every course, aside from digital painting and English, for an entire year. It happened maybe 50, 60 times during the year. That stress, that anxiety during the 2 hours of the course, like, I'm gonna give you shit at the end of the class. Wait 2 hours. Plus, every time there was an exam that was not at home, I was doing shit. And the teacher was not understanding why I was so good from home, or at least decent at home, and so bad in class. I managed to pretend that it was just because I was freaking stressed, which I was. but not for those reasons. It was such a heated debate to know if they wanted me to continue or not. I explained that in my first ever video. But I'm not proud of that, by the way. But when I joined Ubisoft, I was like, I've been a self-taught and not even graduating. I got kicked out from the school. Not worthy of that. Then I got freelance and stuff like that. I was like, I'm even ashamed to ask for 150 euros per day. When I cleansed those feelings, it was kind of hard. The next day, my hypnotherapist and my mentor was saying me, hey, now that you have cleaned that, just try to ask for 450 euros per day. No questions asked. I was still like, are you sure? Yeah, do this. I'm like, okay, I asked for it. No question asked, so I could have asked for even more. So yeah, cheating in school or in some part of your life might be something that is causing that thing, that belief system of I fooled someone, I betrayed someone, something like that. Copying, it's also cheating, but yeah, copying something like I traced on top of something and pretended it was mine, something that never happened to me. But kind of tough. Lying in general. If you were or are lying a lot, every time you lie, tiny voice in your head is like, hey, I fooled someone. I don't deserve that. I cheated for that. So you are feeding that feeling of guilt and shame and unworthiness. And as they say, a lie is a hydra. Every time you lie, it's like a new problem. It's like two new heads. It's like as if you are cutting a hydra's head. There's two new heads. Because every time you hide, you have both to remember the lie and to handle that fake reality about it. It compounds over time. Plus, you have the stress of being caught. Because truth generally always comes back to the surface at some point. Another thing that is related to artists, especially concept artists, is photo bashing. Photo bashing and 3D. A lot of teachers when I was at school, especially during the first year, but second year of concept art too, they were like, it was 2014 and 2015, so photo bashing and using 3D for concept art was brand new at the time. They were all like, oh dude, it's not learning the fundamentals, it's not drawing, it's not pixel painting everything from scratch, you're cheating. Fuck you, dude. My perspective is correct. I've not stolen anything to anyone. My rendering is good. My light is spot on. Plus, I'm the only one without dark circles because I slept this night. Compared to every other ones who walked and did the perspective by hand and stuff like that because they don't know to use 3D. They don't use photo bashing and stuff like that because they don't know to use that. Their render is shit. Their perspective is bad. Like the 2-point perspective instead of 3 points that everyone should have. It's bad. And they work so much. My work is better. I didn't steal anything to anyone. Plus, I slept this night. There's no reason for me to comply to that. But a lot of teachers were like, no, you're cheating. You are not learning fundamentals. I know perspective. I know framing. I'm just using the fundamentals in other ways. Again, this is teacher trying to shame you. It's not happening that much now. Because it's a bit more open about photo bashing and 3D, but at the time it was happening. They're trying to shame you for that. But yeah, photo bashing in general, if you are... This is a tips for aspiring concept artists. Only use photo bashing on things that you know you would be able to paint by hand if you had time. You never use photo bashing on something that you don't know to draw. Because you would start to rely on that. And if one day you are not finding the perfect photo, you don't know to do something. So basically, if you are relying too much on only 3D and photo bashing, I did that when I was at Ubisoft, so I know that feeling pretty bad. It's not to get patronizing, by the way. It's just I'm sharing some personal stuff right there. But if you're always relying on that, you will always be in fear of having to do something that you are not finding the perfect photo for. Or the perfect 3D asset that you can kit bash if you don't know to model. So you are relying on tools to do the work for you. But without them, you are nothing. And this is true imposter syndrome because you are like, without those tools, if there is a blackout, no electricity, and we still need to work, I'm unable to work. And I don't know that. So learn the fucking fundamentals. If you don't know the fundamentals, this is imposter syndrome 101. Also, cutting corners. Same with not learning fundamentals. I'm not gonna talk too much about that, but yeah. You're working photo bashing and 3D, you don't know perspective at all. What if you need to hand draw something that you don't have a photo for? What if you need to paint a dragon in the sky and don't know to scale that in ZBrush? Or if the client wants a quick feedback on something and you don't want to remodel everything from scratch? You're fucked. So don't cut corners. Don't cheat. And finally, about self-taught. Self-teaching people. Autonomous people. Again, you need to realize that if a company hires you while being self-taught, it means that you are good enough. You're worthy. Plus, you have something that some school students don't have, which is autonomy. You know to manage yourself on your own without seeing anyone for 8 hours per day, which is a huge skill. Some of the best schools, they have some class and they have sometimes autonomy. When you are back at home, working on your own, it's not to cut corners or to save money, because in the meantime they are teaching to other class. It's just to be perfectly focused for an extended period of time on one class and teach you to become autonomous. But not every school is like that. But if you are self-taught, you need to understand that you have some skills that most of students don't have, which is good. It will pay dividends in the long term. Again, you are not doing art class for a degree. The degree itself is just a bit of paper to reassure your parents that drawing Pikachus and Mickeys for the and Mickey Mouses for all day long was a good choice, and it led to a useless degree that boomer parents still wants to see. But you need to work for the jury, for the fact that you are learning. First of all, you need to go to school to learn. That's the first objective. The second objective is to get a job. The third objective is to get congratulations on your jury. Self-doubt, you don't have the jury. Again, you are here to learn. And the fact that you are finding your first job is a proof that you are worthy. Same with freelance. If a client is soliciting to you, is asking you to work for them, it means that they are 100% sure that you will do the job. No question asked. Because when a company is soliciting you as a freelancer, there's no time to do art tests, interviews, and shit like that. They want you to produce something quick and fast for them. Because they need you and they want your style, they want what you have. So yeah, those moments that sparked those belief system, cheating, copying, photo bashing, cutting corners, being a self-taught, you need to identify that. And then that's where you use whatever tool you want. I'm personally using hypnosis, but that's just on me. To untighten the screw. And for that, the method you will use will be kind of different, but generally it's like you try to re-experience that moment that triggered that belief system for the first time. You're reliving that. You're re-experiencing that. You're trying to bring that from 1 to 10 on the scale to 10. And you're trying to erase that bad feeling, that bad belief system, because you see that now from your adult or older you perspective, and you realize that it was necessary at some point and that it's not necessary anymore. But for that, you need to have tools to truly change the moral of the story. That's not something that's generally not hardly something you can do on a conscious level. Something you can do if you don't want to see a professional or something like that is daily affirmations. And you basically brainwash yourself with daily affirmations. So for daily affirmation, maybe you got your first job. You feel you are not worthy. So every day, without any question, you get a notebook like that. Every day in the morning, this is my marketing book, but let's pretend it's like daily affirmation book. You open one page, one double page, and you feel that double page in the morning once you wake up with the same sentence like, I am worthy of working in this industry. You write that, you write that, you write that, you write that. It becomes a habit. And eventually you are starting to kind of brainwash yourself with that belief system. You write it at the present tense. You're not writing, I want to be worthy. No, you're writing, I am worthy. Same you want to make. I talked about daily affirmations already. That's the same principle as what I mentioned in the previous videos about goals. But yeah, just to get back on how I clean my stuff. The story about my archery cheating trauma, it was really a trauma, to be honest. I'm not being attacked by anyone, but it leaves some scars. I was not aware of that, and I was never thinking about that. It could be what was causing my imposter syndrome. But basically, at the time I feel guilty. I need to have those results for my parents to be proud. Because I don't want them to spend money for me for stages if I fail over and over again an entire year. I don't want that. I need to get them proud of me. See, we get back to the starting points of high expectations from the family. But when I was re-experiencing that moment and trying to rewrite the moral at the end of the story, the lesson at the end of the story, I just realized that, hey, I was a 7 or 8 years old kid with no strength at all, shooting at 15 meters, which is already a lot. Most of the kids that were shooting at the distance were like 10 or 11 with a 15 pounds shitty bow. With no visor, with no stabs, with shitty arrows. There's no way that you can shoot consistently at 15 meters with such a weak bow. So it was not my fault. It was just because I was kind of too young for that. I was hitting a wall that had nothing to do with me being unable or not good enough. It was just that I'm a kid. I'm not strong enough to draw a 25 pounds bow consistently at a time. It was not possible for me to be consistent shooting at that distance. Now, I was 27. I'm shooting some 50 to 70 pounds bow, like some traditional bow. Shooting at 15 meters is a joke. Because my bows are consistent enough for that now. My technique too. But the bow is definitely playing. You give me a 16-pound bow at 15 meters, I'm unable to shoot consistently. No way. With the cheating at school, it was just like, hey, I acted stupid. I just wanted that girl behind me to succeed, and I was kind of feeling bad for her being feeling so bad about the exam. I tried to help. It was not because I wanted to cheat or to fool anyone. Instead, I wanted to help. The teacher was blaming me, rightfully so, because we should not cheat. But I just wanted to help. And about the entire year doing 3D and photo bashing, then tracing on top of that, and pretending it was traditional, it was just like, yeah, it's definitely not the best way to do. I was so freaked out because my parents were paying most of my student loans. I wanted to honor that. I knew I had to pass that year in order to get delivered and allowed to work properly in digital painting then. I also realized that there won't be time to learn because the teacher didn't want us to learn. They wanted us to produce and learn alongside. They were not teaching us how to draw. So I had to get results because that's all that they wanted. And I didn't have the technique of those older kids that were drawing since they were 3 years old. I just started to draw. But I had 3D and Photoshop, which they didn't have. So I just used my tools to be smarter than them in some ways. I'm not stealing anything to anyone. I've just been using different mediums for the same results. And today in the career, you're doing your job as a concept artist. Nobody cares about how you do that as long as you don't steal anything from anyone. What matters is the result, not the process. In some way, this was good for me because it trained me to basically focus on efficiency and results. And how to achieve that as efficiently as possible. So of course it was not wise, but it was the only solution for me to pass my year. In some way, it trained me to and taught me how to be smart in class, how to specialize there. I explained that in my first ever video. But yeah. So all beliefs, same story, the same things happen. I'm not rewriting history, but I'm rewriting the belief and the way I see those events now. It untightens the screw. I'm like, okay, lesson learned. I'm not doing that ever again. Plus, I've improved on every stage. I'm not at school anymore. I graduated with a nice high school degree. I'm not cheating at archery. Plus, I know how to hit the bullseye pretty much all the time at 15 meters with my bows now. So I'm better. I'm able to do what I was not able to do when I was 7. And about school, it's like, fuck them. I've been the first one in my class to be in the industry. Plus, I've been at Ubisoft. And no one else from my class managed to get a job even 1 year and a half after I started. Definitely proved I was better than them, just with different tools, and nobody wanted to acknowledge that. This is not to flex. It was if you watch my first video, you know that school was horrible for me. It was a nightmare. But nobody was betting on me because my techniques were different and they were not there to teach that. So eventually, I was right in some ways because it led to the result I wanted and that very few others from my class got because they were sticking to that old paradigm, to what they were doing, and I was able to spot the bullshit before them. And they were angry that I was spotting the bullshit and doing stuff that was efficient and not for the school to print some fancy stuff to put on their walls to attract new customers. So in the end, this is legit. Because now a lot of clients are soliciting me in freelance. They're enjoying working with me. I'm enjoying working with them. So yeah, fixed. So that's it. It was supposed to be a short video. It's kind of average in terms of length compared to the other ones. I know it was a bit more on the mystical side now. That's not something that I like to do a lot. On that one, you get the framework. Tools, the way to do that, that's up to you. Nobody to tell you how to do. I like hypnosis. Some people might not like it. That's fine. Because we are different. That's Impostor Syndrome. Belief system based upon toxic shame, toxic guilt, and a low sense of self-worth. Can cripple you and paralyze you by basically get you to fear to fail. In that case, it will confirm that you are a fraud. But also fear to succeed, because you might feel bad about that. Not worthy of that. It's a vicious circle, because if you are feeling to succeed or to fail, it's better to not do anything, but it's also bad. It's also something that you could be guilty of. Because not doing anything, you're stagnating, you're procrastinating, and you know that and you hate that. So, if you are in doubt, trust your school, trust your teacher, talk to the school council, if there is one. If your school is good, you need to trust the process, and you need to aim for getting the congratulations from the jury, which are people that don't know you at all, don't want anything good or bad from you, they just want to be honest with you. And if they congratulate you, it shows that you are worthy. If you get your first job, it shows that you are worthy, because the company has a terrible hiring process because they are even more afraid than you. So if you pass, even though you don't trust it, even though you don't trust your capacities, they are trusting you. You need to trust them in their judgment, because they are paid. They have years and years of experience hiring people just like you, who have the same imposter syndrome, and they're able to handle that properly. And they know that in 99.999% of the cases, it will work like a charm. This is how to deal with that on a daily basis. And if you want to address that, you need to figure out in your past the different events. There might be a lot of them or just one that sparked that feeling of being an imposter, that feeling of guilt, being a monster, being ashamed, being a fool, being a trickster, not being worthy, not being loved. And use a proper psychological tool to rewrite not the story, the belief that sparked out of that experience that you had. And replace that with something positive. Generally, once you erase a bad feeling, a bad lesson from a story that you had, your brain, because your brain is constantly trying to get you safe and stuff like that, will automatically replace that with something positive. And if you want to identify those feelings, every time you feel uncomfortable, try to see if you feel something bad, like a tightness in your chest. For me, it was feeling like there was a rope against my neck, as if I was hanged. This was a very specific feeling, this, and also some tightness in my chest, and I was unable to breathe. But it was both of them, like I was being choked by someone. And by the way, let's get personal. This was due to an accident that happened when I was a baby in my mother's belly. I was sitting with the legs below. So to avoid a C operation, and for me to get out naturally, they tried to basically turn me 180 degrees. But once the doctor tried that, it's supposed to be a very simple operation. My electrocardiogram stopped for a few seconds. I moved back and it started again. They did an echography and I realized I had the umbilical cord around my neck. It choked me. And every time I was stressed, Anytime I had that feeling like something good is happening, so something bad and terrible is going to happen. I'm going to be a fraud, and it's going to be the end of everything. It was sparking that feeling I had at that moment. This is another trigger. This is another trauma. So every time I was stressed, I think that imposter syndrome, I had that feeling. That's how I was able to recognize that feeling. I'm going a bit on a tangent right there, but whatever. This is not a lie, by the way. This is 100% legit, and at some point, I'm pretty sure we're going to talk about traumas at some point. It's going to be not a fun stream, but an important one. But not for now. Not for now. Later, in a few months, maybe. Yeah, you identified those feelings. Re-experience the thing. Remove the bad conclusion that you had. Replace that with something positive. If you change your belief system, it changes your behavior. Thank you, Foskog. Lately, that has been my fear related to the industry and not being worthy at all. I hope that stream helped you. I really hope. If you have other questions, feel free to ask. If you want even to come have a chat on the Discord, you can join. I'm going to join the Discord right now. If you want to join and further discuss about that in English, you can. In the meantime, if you have some questions, you can write them or join. In the meantime, for the YouTube replay, as always, usual speech, feel free to join the community on Discord. Link down below. Feel free to like, feel free to subscribe, feel free to join us on Twitch if you want to further interact with us live, ask a question, or even talk with us on Discord during the presentation at the end to further discuss the subject, share some testimonies, argue with some points. This way you can figure out a solution together. It might be a point of view that is different than mine. I would be absolutely in love to find some solution with you. Feel free to write them down in the comments, by the way. Drop a like, of course. It helps with the algorithm. And more than that, aside from supporting my work if you want, you can also... The best way to support my work for free is to recommend that channel, both Twitch and YouTube, to some people that you know, who you think might benefit from that content. Again, in the Art Nest, we are trying to... No, we are not trying. We are doing our best to teach people, teach aspiring artists, art students, artists overall, everything that art school won't have the time to teach you. Not that they are bad, that they are too busy teaching you the technique, and we are teaching you the mindset, how to thrive as an artist, how to become happy as an artist, how to negotiate better salary, how to protect yourself, how to grow a strong vision as an artist, and how to get your first job in the industry too. It is the main goal, to teach you how to get your first job. Then it's how to try. Anyways, I'm gonna stop for tonight. Thanks a lot, guys, for watching the stream, especially on Friday evening where everyone is at the bar. Have a nice evening and take care. Next stream is going to be on Monday, probably. And you will see the subject on Discord. Anyways, take care, guys. Have a nice weekend. Have a nice Halloween. And see you next time.